Right, I've got an exciting project for today. I've got this 1984 Raleigh Panache, which I've actually pulled out of a skip, believe it or not. It's an amazing find. I can't believe someone was going to throw it away, but they seem to be doing a whole house clearance, and they were throwing loads of bikes in the skip. But this one here, I could only take one. I've only got so much space in this garage, but this one here is the one that I've gone for. I asked them very kindly if I asked them very nicely if I could take one, and they were more than happy to see it go to a new home rather than go to the scrapyard. So I've done a little bit of research on this bike, and yeah, it looks like it dates to 1984, and I've got the original description here. So Raleigh Panache, everything that its name implies, finished in a brilliant combination of orchid and warm white. I suppose that sort of pink colour is what they define as orchid. Panache is a sporty value for money cycle, more fun than a commuter and faster than a town machine. We've not only fitted a 5-speed gear, but also added full-length rustless mudguards. Yeah, they do look actually pretty rustless, they're just really dirty. Comfy padded handlebar tape, a chromed rear carrier, and brake lever extensions. There's the chromed rear carrier. This is rusty, really rusty, and also kind of flimsy, but that's it adds to the look, I guess. The handlebar extensions are right there. The latter allow braking while in a comfortable upright riding position, ideal if this is your first experience of a drop bar bike. Sizes 18-inch, 19.5-inch, 21-inch and 22-inch. Now I've checked this, and this measured from here to here. It's 19.5 inches, which is a pretty handy medium size. Although obviously it's a woman's bike, I could probably get away with riding it. It's with the seat in the lowest position. There's plenty of room for it to go up still. I haven't ridden it anywhere. It's actually unrideable at the moment. We've got completely flat split tyres. The gear doesn't really want to shift, but it should be a relatively easy flip. First thing to do, I think, is just check if the wheels are straight. There's got not much clearance on the brakes here, so let's give it a quick spin, see if there's much resistance. Ever so slight wobble in that wheel. It's probably moving through about 2 millimeters. Nothing too serious, it should be easy to fix. And look, it's spinning quite nicely, so it's not like it needs rebuilding the bearings or anything like that. Have a quick look at the back wheel. Nice tight clearance, and that one's hardly moving at all. I don't think I'll need to true that, which is great news. Quick spin. Oh yeah, there's something dragging there. That's not exactly great. That chain shouldn't be sagging like that. Does pedal forwards though. First thing to do is to see if these tyres will take some air. So let's just unscrew that. Click this on here. Get pumping. So I've got the tyre up to 90 psi, which is about as high as I dare take it with the sort of cracking sidewalls. It is actually holding air at the moment. Let's see if it'll hold the air over time. That'll be the real test. Let's see if the rear tyre can take some air as well. Let's see if it'll hold in there. Taking this up to 90 psi and see if it'll stay there. Front brake, lever's okay, and caliper appears to be doing what it's supposed to. Again, I think a little bit of lubrication, especially in the cable and this joint here, I think would really help that work properly. Back brake is very stiff. There's a kink in the cable here, which I don't think is helping, but it's also a very, very long enclosed cable that runs all the way down here and then sort of loops up there. It's probably got quite a lot of corrosion in this U-bend here. That's where any water that's gone in will have gone down the tube, settled in there, and that's where there'll be rust. So I don't think we actually need to replace these cables. They're in quite good condition, but definitely a little bit of lube down the cables will really help those. Again, fairly easy fix. Just check the motion of the pedals. The bottom bracket definitely feels a bit stiff, so I think we'll just see if that loosens itself up with a bit of use. Possibly might need to put a little bit of lube in there as well. And the freewheel mechanism, you can tell that's a bit stiff because of the way that the chain is sagging. The chain is kind of having to push its way past the freewheel, which isn't exactly great. But again, that might loosen up itself, or it might loosen up with a little drop of oil as well. Here we've got one of these hilarious old ever-ready lamps. Anyone who grew up in the 80s will remember these. They had 2 D-cell batteries and weighed about 1 kilo, just to give off this pathetically dim glow. I haven't got the lamps to go with it, thank God, they're rubbish anyway, so I'll just take that off and bin it. Rack is rusty. I don't think that'll really come up. It's very, very pitted. But I might just see what happens when I wash it. It might come back a little bit. There's some bits there where there's hope. Rims are very, very rusty, but fortunately the braking surfaces are actually okay. So that's a good sign. Frame is straight, it looks like. Pedals are straight, cranks are straight, which is good because these would be a nuisance to change. And the front end is very, very dirty, where obviously it's been stored in a shed or something, but it doesn't look like it's been stored outside, which is great news because it's not actually really that rusty. Overall, this bike is really, really original condition. Almost, well, it's over 35 years old, I think, and yeah, it doesn't look like anything on it has been changed since it was new. There's even like little bits of plastic when it's come out of the shop, and it's from Pearson Cycles, which is a great local brand. More than anything, I think this bike just needs a really good wash. If I just use a little bit of spit and polish, you can see there's actually some great original paintwork under there, and yeah, hardly any chips or scratches on it anywhere. Really great. Let's give it a damn good wash. That's probably what WD-40 is best for. Not really as a lubrication, but actually it makes incredibly good cleaning solvent. Look how nicely that's come up. All that horrible sort of stuck on tar. Almost good as new. There are some stiff links in this chain here, which are not really, I think that's where the oil has pretty much turned to a sort of sticky glue instead. I'm hoping that I can get away with just oiling that again, and by spinning it around a little bit, hopefully they'll loosen off. The alternative is if that really doesn't loosen up properly, then I'll have to properly degrease that, maybe using white spirit or something. But I'm hopeful that will come back because it's not damaged, it just is kind of dirty. Going to run a bit of oil onto the chain now, just to hopefully bring it back to life. Feels like those stiff links are coming out already. Put a little tiny drop of oil on here just to help with the movement of those pieces. To stop this back brake rubbing the rim, I'm just going to centralise the caliper like that as much as possible, and also screw this in, which should slacken the tension a little bit and just keep the brake pads from brushing the rim until it's needed. So I haven't even lubricated it yet, but already that's feeling a little bit better. Obviously there's a little bit of lubrication on here, but the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a few drops of oil onto the cable here, and that should run down the cable a little bit, go down the cable, and that should just help make that run a little bit more smoothly. It's not exactly the perfect solution, but a few squeezes on that and it should work its way down into this U-bend here. This is the bit which I think is likely to have corrosion in it or gunk of some sort, so I'm going to keep dropping the oil slowly down the top and work its way down the cable. Right, I've flipped the bike upside down now just so I can get to these points here. Oil, little drop of oil on the cable, another drop of oil in there, and I'll work the cable back and forth so it works the oil into the cable casing, and then pretty much everything here, give everything a little drop of oil, every joint where there was stiffness before, bit of oil on it, and that should help the derailleur shift more smoothly. Get some oil in this end as well, and then a bit more in here. Now if I wanted to do a really thorough job on this, I'd take the cable right out and then grease all the way down it, but you know what, I just don't think it's necessary on this because it's in such good shape. I don't think there's really that much of a problem here, and it will definitely loosen up over time, I'm sure. Bike's in pretty good shape now, and it's pretty much ready to ride. Actually, there's nothing else that I really need to do to it. Everything's functioning, everything's screwed up the way it should be. All of the stiff links in the chain have worked their way out. Now I've given them a bit of an oil and a few spins on the cranks. This is a horrible gap though, that's totally unacceptable. So what I'm going to do is these stays here are held in place with this screw here. So I'm just going to back that off. And I should be able to slide this in. There you go, see it sliding in there? And I'll reposition the mudguard so it's sitting with a bit more of an acceptable clearance. I've done these up on both sides now. You can see how the rod sort of slips through that little eyelet thing on the other side. And clearance is looking tight now, looking really good. I'm still not entirely convinced by these tyres. I think these cracks in them are going to mean that they're going to have to be changed really, but they are holding air about 12 hours after I originally pumped them up, which is a really good sign. So yeah, the bike is completely rideable. Let's give it a test ride. Let's take this bike for a little test ride. First thing I'm going to do is just check the headset is good, brakes are working okay, everything seems to be nice and stiff as it should be. It's in first gear, so let's go. Just going to go through the gears in second now, third, fourth, fifth. Oh, we've only got 5 gears, there you go. We should go up to quite a good speed, I think. Test the brakes. Brakes are howling a bit, but they work pretty well. Back through the gears. Really nice, really nice. I'm now going to attempt to try and straighten this wheel a little bit. It's really not too bad, it won't take too much effort, but I'm just giving it a spin and see where it's furthest away from the brake blocks, which is about... Keep going, keep going, keep going. It's about there, so I can feel it's furthest away. And I've got this spoke key here, which you just put on the spokes on the side, which will pull the wheel towards me. So pull the rim towards me, so it's this spoke here, not the other side, that's the other side, this is the side that I want to go for. Get the spoke key on like that, and then turn it. It's lefty-loosey on this one because the thread is reversed when you use the spoke key compared to a screwdriver. If you don't have one of these, you can actually take the tyre off and go in the spoke from the top using a flat-headed screwdriver normally, and then the thread is the correct way, so righty-tighty. But when you use spoke key, it's lefty-loosey to actually create some extra tension on that spoke. And what happens is on the bit that's furthest away from you, tighten these spokes up, and they'll pull the rim slightly towards you. You probably only need half a turn or so, and it should make it nice and straight then. So there you have it, 1980s Raleigh Panache in almost completely original factory condition. I reckon that can go on eBay now, all working absolutely perfectly. I'm hoping that'll probably get sort of 80 quid or so, probably even more than that. I'll let the auction run and see what the market decides. I think if I was keeping this bike myself, one thing I would do to it is I would change the tyres, because that splitting there is not going to last very long. And for the sake of some new tyres, which you can get sort of for 10-15 quid each, that would definitely be worth doing. I think I would also have a little go at tidying up some of the rust on here, because it would come up. It's very superficial, this rust, and here that would easily come up quite nicely. And I'd also probably change the cables, because although they're not in bad condition at all, the only way you can really get the grease into them properly is to take them off and reinstall them with some nice fresh ones. Really, really cheap and fairly quick job, but it's not worth doing for the sake of a bike I'm just going to put on eBay anyway. But yeah, fantastic bike. I hope whoever buys it really gets to enjoy it. I'll put in the comments how much it sells for anyone that's interested. Just see how close my estimate is. Like I say, 80 quid I'm hoping. Might be a little bit less, might be a little bit more, but it's a really nice bike and I'm sure someone's going to really get to enjoy it. And all that for a bike that I pulled out the skip. It's cost me absolutely nothing. I've spent nothing on it apart from maybe no more than 2 hours, I would say. And someone was going to chuck this away. What an absolute dreadful waste that would have been. Forget the comments, I'm going to tell you now, I sold that bike for 165 quid on eBay. Absolutely fantastic, really chuffed with that. That's double what I thought it was going to sell for. So I'm really pleased for a bike that I've pulled out the skip. That's incredible. Let's hope the person who's bought it enjoys it as much as I've enjoyed making money out of it. Great.